Alright, Witchlings, welcome back to the channel. It's the Twisted Witch Midnight Moon Song here, and I've been gone a while. The style of the day is mask, because it's one of those days where I look in the mirror and I just don't like what I see. So, we all have those days, and honestly, I don't hate these masks. I know a lot of other people do, but I don't. I just don't. It also helps with my allergies a little bit, actually, surprisingly. So yeah, today is going to be a mask day. Anyway, getting into the video, I decided I really wanted to do this 5 unconventional practices within my craft. Because I was looking around things, I'm on the Pagan Witches Amino, I love looking on forums, lurking around and stuff like that, not in any one particular, just in general, and I see a lot of, I guess something that would be considered the normal way things are used and worked with in the pagan community, and I realized that there's a lot of things that I use that I guess would be seemingly unconventional to a lot, because a lot of people have this set, you have to do it this way or that's the way it's taught, and even though there's not a rule that says you have to use it that way, you have to only see this herb for this whatever, a lot of people still use it that way. They learn, oh hey, you use this crystal for this, and so that's the way they use it. But for me, as a chaos practitioner that I am, I don't always do that. I look at them and I kind of do my own thing with them sometimes. And so I came up with, I think, the 5 most common things that I normally see throughout different pagan paths, and my slightly twisted version of those. So sit back and grab a drink if you want, and hope you enjoy. The first unconventional thing I want to talk about is the way I use the moon. Moon magic is generally seen as a divinely feminine force. This is because females have their monthly cycle. But the thing is, with the moon governs tides, and therefore governs all things. All things are made of water in some sense. Heck, humanity as we know it are 90% water. So it really boggles my mind when I see people say, oh, it's just a divinely feminine thing because females have extra water. Technically speaking, if you really bring it down to a scientific level, they don't. They don't have extra water. And men have just as much water as women do, but their cycle, I guess, is different than ours. They have that stuff in them, but it's not used in the same way. They don't have a womb, so they don't make menstrual blood. But they do have water in them in a variety of other ways. So because of that, I see the moon, and the sun for that matter, as an androgynous force. Something that's made up of either both masculine and feminine, or neither. And I get the feeling that the sun is generally seen as masculine just to kind of default the fact that the moon is feminine. I personally cannot see any other reason why it would be considered masculine, other than the fact that it doesn't govern the woman's tides, so it must be masculine. But that's just me. And if you look through moon deities and sun deities and stuff, you'll find a whole number of them as being both male and female. There's quite a few male moon deities out there that don't really get lots of notice because the moon is, in our modern day time, in most pagan cycles, is considered divinely feminine. So for me, I use it as just divine. I don't have a feminine or masculine part about it. But that's just me. Now, the symbol I often use with the moon is the symbol of, that most people see when they hear masculine and feminine. It's the female symbol with the the male symbol arrow jutting out of the top of it. In the middle of that circle, I put a crescent moon. And that to me says, moon. Hold on. I will quickly draw it for you so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about, because I feel like my explanation might have been a little wonky. Yeah, something like that. It appears backwards on the thing, but yeah. Anyway, that's my unconventional way of looking at the moon. And if you look at the moon in a similar way, leave a comment down below. I would love to know if more people look at it that way and use it that way. I think that'd be really, really cool. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, number 2, is lavender. Lavender is known by a lot of people as the dream herb. Now, I use it for so many things. It's one of my go-tos. Lavender isn't just something you can use for sleep or dreams. It can also be used for nightmares. I believe that every single herb can be used in conjunction with a positive and a negative aspect. And if you're talking about dreams, then dreams can be both good and bad and informative. So all forms of dreams, whether they be prophetic, nightmares, regular old positive dreams, lucid dreaming, all of that I feel can be used with lavender, and it works for me. Lavender also is something that is said to speak to spirits. I use it for that. I use it for lots of spirit work. And because I use it for spirit work, I can also use it for my third eye work. Like I said, I can use lavender for almost anything. Lavender can be both gentle or pungent depending on how you use it. So it can pack a punch, or it can be soft and mellow. You can put it in any situation. I know not everybody likes lavender, and that's fine. I happen to really, really love lavender, which is what led me to try out with everything that I do, and it's worked. So generally speaking, my go-to is usually lavender. The only other one I use in my craft in a major sense would be bay leaves, because I do use bay leaves for wish magic, but that's more conventional. A lot of people do that. I also write petitions on them and that sort of thing. But lavender is generally my go-to for almost everything else. Yeah, and yes, there are times where I decide, oh, you know what, I want to use this instead of lavender, but the vast majority of the time, it's lavender. Oh, it's always lavender. Now, the third thing I want to talk about is marriage. A lot of people, and they don't have to be pagan to feel this way, but there are a lot of people who feel that you don't need the law out there to say you're married to be with somebody, which is true. I do fully believe that. But at the same time, even in the pagan community, there are people that believe that you have to get married by a priest or a priestess or someone like that to be considered married. I don't. For me, a marriage is the promise between two people, and whether there's a priest or officiant of any kind, doesn't matter. The promise made between those people is the marriage itself. Everything else is just traditional ceremony. It doesn't need to be in there. It doesn't have to be in there. The promise made between the people is what matters and what actually counts as the marriage. And that is, I guess, somewhat of an unconventional way of looking at it. But that's the way I see it. That's the way I believe it. And that's the way I've always held to with it. I've actually been criticized before by pagans when I've said that in certain forums, because I guess they felt I was trying to take a job away from priests and priestesses or whatever. But the thing is, I don't think the priest title or the priestess title are really necessary. I'm a solitary practitioner, so I really don't see the point in having a priest or a priestess title on people. But, if you want one, go for it. I'm not stopping you. I'm just saying that for me personally, it's not something that I feel pulled to. And if you tell me you're a priest or a priestess, it's not going to impress me. They're just words. I met loads of people that have been in their craft for many, 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 many years, and there'll be a younger person who's, or a person younger than them who says, oh, I'm a priest or a priestess of this and this coven, and they're much less equipped than this other person who is not considered a priest or a priestess. So, honestly, for me, it really is just a title. That's all it is. And just because you're considered a priest or priestess in your coven doesn't mean you know more than anyone else who's not in a coven or who's not considered a priest or a priestess. And so when I said I don't need one to say I'm married, I got a lot of backlash from several people. Most of them were in covens, actually. And I did have one person back me up on that, said that they felt the same way. But again, I don't go to this forum anymore. I think they've gotten shut down, but they were a really, really bad forum. They were one of the earlier forums. I don't remember their name, but the people who ran the forum were terrible. This site was absolutely terrible. They had, essentially, where there's the rule in most places nowadays that says you can't gatekeep and try to reinforce yourself or whatnot, this site didn't have those rules. The rule was, if you believe it, you can do whatever you want with it. So if it was part of your belief system that you have the right to harass people in order to get your message across, then they felt you had the right to do that. So there was bullying on the site almost endlessly. None of the mods would ever do anything. It's like, well, they have a right to feel that way. And I'm sorry, but they might have a right, they might think they have a right to bully someone, but the person being bullied has the right not to want to be bullied. So I ultimately ended up leaving that site for obvious reasons, and so did a lot of other people that unfortunately I lost contact with. But yeah, it's definitely an idea that got me in trouble a couple of times, but it is what it is. I stand by it. I don't think I need a priest or a priestess or anybody for that matter to tell me that I'm married. It's the promise I made to my husband that says I'm married, and that's it. Same thing with divorce. If you want to relinquish that promise, then that's the divorce. But yeah, that's how I view it, and it is what it is. The fourth thing I'm going to talk about are cusps. And for those of you who don't know what a cusp is, a zodiac cusp is when you're born at the end of the cycle, but the beginning of another. Think of it like the, if you've seen an art program, the color wheel, not the one that was individual section of colors, but the one that blends. And in between, like, let's say the yellow and the red, or the orange and the red, or the orange and the yellow, there's that little bitty section where the colors blend together before they get into the next solid color. And you can think of the zodiac signs as those solid colors, and the blendy parts as being the cusps, the moments where they kind of merge. And what that does, what that means, is that a person who is born under one cusp can have attributes and such of both signs in that respective column. So, like, I'm a Leo Cancer cusp, so that's for my sun sign, and so I would have aspects of Cancer as well as Leo in my sun sign section. And that does change up things sometimes. And each cusp has a specific name. I don't remember all the other names, but mine is called the cusp of oscillation. And honestly, I struggled a lot. I was like, I don't, like, a lot of the things I was seeing with Leo, there were some things that were like me, but there was a lot that weren't, and I was just kind of confused. But then there were things that were like me that was like Cancer, but I'm like, my sun sign isn't in Cancer. It makes no sense. And I have ink all over my arm, yes, because a pen exploded, and I set my arm right on it. And I decided to go ahead and film the video and wash it off later, so yeah. Anyway, the cusp thing does kind of change around some things sometimes, and honestly, I found out that it really, really helped. It helped to explain certain habits and certain things that I did or felt a lot better than just going by the one. So I do. I use Cusps. I like Cusp. You don't have to use Cusp, but for me, it helped me discover things about myself that made more sense than if I didn't use it. And I feel that for everyone, it's going to be different. Some people don't like to use the Cusp because it confuses them. Other people like it because it makes sense out of things that they couldn't make sense out of. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is something I have struggled to find a lot about. Most people, when you talk about this, they have one way of doing it. So, when you say spirit guides, most people will tell you they can be plants or not plants, they can be animals or people, but they can also be plants. That was what I was trying to get at. Plant guides do exist, and I think the only people I've really talked to that really talk about this have been druids. And I do have druidry in my lineup of things I practice, so that could be why. But plants can be guides. The thing with that, though, is very rarely do you see the plant just sitting there as a plant. Most often, when you see it in a guide form, it has some other form. It can take the form of an animal, a person, or some being that you've never seen before. So it can be really confusing to know if it's actually a plant or not. Because plants are a lot more mysterious. They feel differently. They see the world and experience energy in the universe differently than how an animal would, or you and I would. So when you see a plant, often they have to change form so they can associate with you. But they are some of the most intuitive and interesting guides you will ever meet. Because they have such a different and unique way of looking at things and experiencing things, they can open up a whole new world for you. So if you feel kind of stuck and you're looking for some kind of spirit guide, try to reach out to a plant guide. And if you find something coming to you that doesn't look like a plant, most often it won't, straight up ask it, what kind of plant are you? And there's a whole slew of different kinds of creatures and stuff that connect to a sort of plant look. Like, one of my plant guides is a birch, because for some reason I've always been attracted to the birch trees. I think they're so beautiful, and I had a plant guide appear to me several times that was a birch. And the first time it appeared, it was in a dream, and it was like a person, but they were made of the birch. The best way I can describe it. And I wasn't sure what it was at first. And then I started seeing it more and more during meditation and that type of thing, and now I realize I have a birch plant guide. And that's pretty cool. It's really cool. And like I said, it has a very unique perspective on things. And where my animal guides will have one perspective, the birch might have another, and that then helps me to make a better decision as to where I need to go, what I need to do, or to solve the problem that I'm trying to face up. So yeah, there you have it. The 5 unconventional things that I use in my craft and the way I use them. I'm sorry if you were expecting something more juicy, I guess. I don't sacrifice things or anything like that, so if that's the kind of thing you were expecting, I'm sorry, but you won't find that here. Yeah. Well, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Blessed be.